There are many issues that units of local government will be concerned with if a con does indeed take place. The first obvious issue is home rule. Article 7 of the Constitution currently states the powers and functions of home rule units shall be construed liberally. Depending on who you are, home rule units, the power of home rule government means tax and spend. When the Constitution took effect, 67 cities were given home rule powers by virtue of their populations being over 25,000. Today that number is a little over 150. In comparison to other states, Illinois' home rule municipalities have one of the broadest grants of authority, again, specifically in the areas of taxation, by any state to its local governments. With the specific exceptions of the prohibition of home rule units from levying taxes upon income, earnings, or occupation, the constitutional restriction on home rule units are very, very small. But of course, as we all know, the Constitution allows the Illinois General Assembly to place restrictions on home rule powers. Through a simple majority vote of both houses and the Senate, it can allow for the exclusive exercise of powers or functions by the state, or by a 3/5 majority vote, it can prohibit the use of home rule power. Other than taxation, promotion of economic development, reducing debt costs through the issuance of GO bonds secured by our property taxes, real estate transactions, those are obviously some of the powers that home rule units have today that may come into question if indeed a con is approved by the voters in 2008. Very, very briefly, other main issues that could be discussed that would affect local units of government if con was called again. Citizen determination of home rule governments. Other states' constitutions allow citizens within a specific home rule jurisdiction to determine exactly what home rule powers they wish to have. Unlimited by the Constitution. Some jurisdictions, their citizens have restricted the use of certain home rule powers. That is available for discussion, as of course everybody knows. Once a con is called, there is no limitation on what can be discussed in or decided by those delegates. Binding referendums within the state of Illinois, those are currently prohibited. Those would also be a subject of discussion. Recall and term limits for local officials and municipal officers. And then finally, I would argue two of the most important outside of the home rule areas, the use of eminent domain powers, whether or not those can continue under the restrictions that are currently under law, and the replacement of property taxes is the fundamental source of statewide programs such as education and other uses. You don't want to hear from me. You want to hear from former delegates and current elected officials, so I'll turn it back over to the moderator.
Thank you very much, sir. The first panelist we're going to hear from is Professor Netsch. I guess go down memory lane a little bit and discuss, what happened and the issues.
All right, let me make, if I might, a couple of sort of generalizations first, one of which at least I think in part carries out what you were saying also, Derek. The first thing is that we do have in the Illinois Constitution, because it was a modern constitution, one single article that covers local government. Believe it or not, that was not true in the old Constitution, and it's not true in a lot of other state constitutions. In fact, very recently, I've done some work with some people in Wisconsin who are debating whether, well, their particular question is the Wisconsin Constitution obsolete? And they're deciding whether they want to go for a constitutional convention or something in between. One of the things that they did in writing up about the issue of local government, they pointed out, first of all, that Illinois has an admirable model local government provision, and that one of the things that makes it work very well is that everything is in one place so that you can get a sense of how the various component parts work one against the other. But having said that, there is a single article that deals with local government. Nevertheless, almost anything that affects how state government does its business also has an effect on local government. It's probably most obviously true in terms of fiscal policy, but it's true in a lot of other respects also. So that you have to be, your particular focus may be local government, but you've got to pay a lot of attention to what's going on with respect to other parts of the Constitution that affect the state as well. A second generalized point I would make is that With all due respect, I don't think that local government is going to be one of the hot button issues of the discussion about constitutional revision. There are going to be lots of hot button issues, but unless you choose somehow to make them in that category, I don't think it's going to be at the very top of the agenda. And that leads me to a third generalization, which may surprise you a little bit. If I were you, I'd leave the local government article alone. I would not suggest a great many changes to it. In fact, I would sort of say, it's pretty good as it is. Let's go on to some other topic. Because it is more likely that if it does become a centerpiece of discussion, that you may well see some of the things that Derek was mentioning. There may be an attempt to, I don't think you could possibly get away with eliminating home rule, but there may be an attempt to restrict home rule by perhaps increasing the power of the state to limit what home rule units can do, maybe by limiting the number of units that have home rule available, by making it easier for the state to preempt and a variety of other things. I think you are very likely to encounter constitutional tax rate limits. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to end up in the Constitution, but there is no question in my mind that if you get a lot of discussion about local government, you're going to get a lot of discussion and a lot of pressure for constitutional tax rate limits, not statutory, which can be changed, but constitutional. I think, with all due respect to my friend on my left right now, you're going to get a lot of suggestion for recall, for initiative, very broadly based. You're going to get that at the state level also, but certainly also at the state level. So there are a lot of risks involved, I think, if you really open up the local government article to kind of let's look at it freshly all over again. And I'm not sure you're going to like the very fresh things that you find in it. We really did, I think, provide a very good sound structure. I mean, there are a lot of things in there that everyone who was a delegate to the convention would have liked to have changed, and that's true with any other part of the Constitution. But what we thought we did was to provide flexibility, strength at the local government level, particularly with respect to home rule units, but recognizing that the state still has an overall responsibility for everything that takes place.